Okay, so Dan Bongino, a lot of soft language. Shocking new COVID study exposes fake news media narrative. Fake media narrative. What a bunch of. This is going to be a bunch of nothing, isn't it?
50% of people in the hospital are in the hospital with mild or asymptomatic cases. Why? Because of the fear.
Hang on. 50% of the people who are in the hospital asymptomatic? Run that by me again, stupid.
Roughly 50% of people in the hospital are in the hospital with mild or asymptomatic cases. Why? Because of the fear porn campaign by the media and morons like Howard Stern, this chump. Morons.
How are 50% of the people in the hospital for COVID are asymptomatic? Please cite something. Holy shit.
They think they're going to die. Sir, you have no symptoms. I'm going to die. I heard from Howard Stern and others how deadly this thing is.
Yeah. This is the fantasy in his head. Asymptomatic people are taking up hospital beds. I mean, this is hooey. Because of fear mongering by Howard Stern. Meanwhile, there are people literally on ventilators who were trying to cure their COVID with horse paste because of assholes like Dan Bongino. But please tell me this fantasy about asymptomatic people afraid they're going to die.
This is the problem with a non-fact-oriented debate about where we are with this pathogen. People wind up in the hospital, roughly half of them, with no symptoms at all.
Well, then, why are they being admitted if they have no symptoms? Who is this? Like, 50% of people in the hospital, according to Dan Bongino, half of the people in the hospital for COVID have no symptoms. They are only there because they are Howard Stern fans, which is, insofar as I know, there's no cure for.
And then the left uses the data to get even more people to show up in the hospital.
Is there any leftist media saying if you test positive but you have no symptoms, please listen to Howard Stern and check yourself straight into the morgue? What the fuck are you talking about? How is this a thing? How does this fall out of your mouth? And you not go, oh, sorry, I barfed idiocy all over my desk.
No symptoms at all. Oh my gosh, 60,000 people are in the hospital for coronavirus. Yeah, 25,000 are asymptomatic.
What? In no reality are there 25,000 asymptomatic people that are asymptomatic of anything in the hospital. And again, this is less of an attack on Howard Stern, and I suppose more of an attack on doctors, in theory, who would apparently admit people with no symptoms of anything just for the money and the insurance. Like 25,000, that's the accusation. Doctors and nurses in hospitals all across this country, mostly red states, are admitting 25,000 asymptomatic people to hospitals to take up hospital beds because they heard something on Howard Stern. I don't even know what the fuck. Like, where is he pulling this shit from? And again, if you're going to lead off with this, again, this is not a clip I put up. This is something they put up. This is from Dan Bongino show clips. Where in the world is there any of this? What is this based on? Please put something on the goddamn screen.
They're just there because they think they're going to die because of people like Stern. Here's a Mediaite story. This goes under the chump alert thing. What a coward. What a wuss, man. I grew up listening to this guy. He was so edgy. He would go after any kind of sacred cow. And it just this reminds me of that adage. If an organization doesn't start out as explicitly right and conservative, right, meaning right, left political paradigm, it will eventually be captured by the left.
Why? Is that, no, it isn't. Most people, the idea is that people get more conservative as they get older. That everybody starts leftish, and as they get older, they're going to get right. There's no adage that if something is so if Kentucky Fried Chicken is an expressly right wing, no pun intended, they will not serve anything but left wings until, right.
That's a golden rule, and it's inviolable.
It's not a golden rule, and it's not inviolable. It's fucking ridiculous. What are you talking about?
If an organization does not start out where its sole purpose is explicitly conservative and right, it will be captured by the left. And
what? Oh, I see. So if an organization specifically started because it's, to be a conservative organization, they'll manage to hang on. If an organization doesn't have any particular legal bent, it will eventually drift left so as not to alienate as many customers as possible and not be assholes. What does captured by the left mean? They'll hire anybody regardless of skin color? The fuck?
Stern has been captured by the left too because he's a coward. He has no guts at all. Yeah, and by the way, he's the biggest hit talker, if you know what I mean. Hey, learn karate.
It's shit talker, and he is not.
As a kid, the guy is a 6'4" rotting bag of bones. He's a total zero, and he goes on the air every day right now. He's lazy. He never wants to work. He's got this huge deal. He's got the guy spends half of his time on vacation. At least the listeners over there at Sirius get fleeced because of this idiot.
Oh, they get fleeced, do they? Like people who joined Parler, for example, and gave their private information to an organization run by some dickhead who's too lazy to set up a security system, so he got the demo version, the trial version of security software to hold it down. It's and how long has Stern been on the air? What, 40 fucking years now? Tell you what, Bongino, if you're on the air in 35 years, feel free to take a long vacation.
And he pretends to be a tough guy on the radio. Meanwhile, when he sees people in person, he hangs his head and walks away in shame. Yeah, I told you that, Stern. You're a chump. You're a chump.
Yeah, he calls him out. Yes. How old is Stern now? He's mad. I don't know why. Bongino, who's looking for a TV for his bunghole. Does anybody, he's 63. He's broing off against a 63-year-old. You tell him, Bongino. Yeah, just keep TRT right into the base of your neck. Here's something, Bongino. You're calling out a 63-year-old who was never a fighter or anything like that. Just kind of he's a shock jock. He's 67? Right. So, okay, 67. There you go. Dan Bongino is calling out. How old is Bongino? Do we know? Let's see. Age. He's 46. Yeah. So Dan Bongino is younger than me. Dan Bongino is, as of next week, technically is 6 years younger than me. And he is calling out a 63-year-old. So, a 67-year-old. And so, in defense of that 67-year-old, I'm calling out Dan Bongino. You're a punk bitch. How do you like that? There you go. I'm using in deference to his language. You're a wuss. You're a shit talker. You're full of crap. You're a bloviating asshole. How about that? I'm 6 years older than you, and I'm calling you out. Dan Bongino, you're a cream puff. I don't know if you ever used to be tough. You seem to think so. I'm saying you're not. Being thick ain't the answer. I mean, this could be a shellfish allergy. There you go. How about that? I mean, and here's the thing, Bongino. If you were 63, I wouldn't be so rude to you. But you're a kid and you're a wuss. Hi. Hi. I hope this clip gets to you. I hope someone shows it to you. Not only are you a weakling, you're mentally lazy, and apparently your staff is lazy because they can't even be bothered to put the stat you're referencing at the beginning of the clip. I'm watching this raw. He might put it up. Well, fingers crossed he'll put it up. I doubt it. But what kind of an asshole goes on a show? By the way, are you sure you have enough of your logo? All right. Goes on and picks on a 63-year-old, calling him a wuss. A 67-year-old. I keep doing that. Call somebody calls out a 67-year-old like, oh, bro, you don't even know. You're not tough. 67-year-olds, right? Whatever. Who does that? And then is talking out of his ass. 50% of the people in the hospital with COVID right now are not asymptomatic. You moron. Dan Bongino, you're a wuss and a moron. Period. This is just goofy. Thanks. Please send the clip to him. All right. Now let's see. Yeah. Do you even lift, bro?
Total coward. Tell you that to your face.
Oh, man. I'll tell that to your face, 67-year-old man.
Was. So here he is. Howard Stern roasts Joe Rogan for taking ivermectin instead of cure vaccine. Quotes. Here's what Stern said about Joe Rogan. By the way, a guy far more successful than Howard Stern right now.
Not even close. Ask Rogan. He's been around been doing the podcast thing for about 10 years, something like that. We'll see.
Has become, again, a rotting bag of bones. And really...
Which is the only reason why you're threatening it. Because that's what a weak human being does. You're gonna bro up on someone that you think is a rotting bag of bones. You can't do both at the same time, you wuss.
Someone people only listen to because years ago they put him on their favorites on the dial and have yet to delete him yet.
Which is something, by the way, that Dan Bongino aspires to. Gee, I hope one day that someone could put me on their radio dial and forget I'm there, and then accidentally push the button and go, all right, I'm too tired to push another button.
Here's Stern. We have no time for idiots in this country anymore, Stern said. We agree, Howard, so you should cancel yourself. We don't want you. We want you to all either go to the hospital and stay home or die there with your COVID. Don't take the cure. Don't clog up our hospitals with your COVID when you finally get it. Stay home. Don't bother with science. It's too late. Go F yourself. We just don't have time for you.
Yeah, that sounds like attacking the sacred cow of the posturing Trumplicans. And apparently it worked because he clearly has got Bongino on edge.
This guy's filth, and he's a wuss. He's a coward. I hate chumps and cowards. There are people who've earned the right, sadly, to insult other people because no one's going to.
Well, I think I've earned the right to insult you. I've watched your shit. I've pointed out how moronic you are, how vapid and substance-free your arguments are, how you don't even seem to understand your own argument at times, to the point where you have to look to your staff to make sure you're saying what you think you're saying.
This guy's not it. He's a chump. And
he's 67.
It's just another example of the leftist death cult of these lunatics who, again...
Why would it be a death cult if you don't think it's going to kill you? Who cares? Why is it a leftist death cult if you don't think it's going to kill you? If you don't think there's anything to worry about? If people don't need the vaccine, Dan? Why is it a leftist death cult? And man, are you delicate about what Howard Stern says. Do you need a nappy? Do you need tissues? Are there tissues in the studio?
Say anything about people who are obese, drug users, or anything, which is good. No one should wish death on anyone.
But I'd like to bring it up that, it's really those people who deserve to go.
Notice they've singled people out with coronavirus who have doubts and ask questions that they should die. Notice there aren't people on the left calling for IV drug users who contract HIV to die. Right. They're not, which is, they shouldn't.
There is no vaccine for HIV, shithead. There isn't. And by the way, they shouldn't, but they kind of should, right? Is what he's really saying. What an asshole. But again, this is how let's be honest. How does the right wing think about drug addicts? I mean, look at Rush Limbaugh. Every drug addict needs to go to jail or die from their addiction, except him. Right? The left doesn't care about IV drug users getting HIV. And so therefore we can't gripe about people who won't take one of three available safe vaccines to protect themselves from an average contagion that could kill them or their relatives. Because freedom.
But all of a sudden, when it comes to coronavirus, if you dare ask a question, you should die. You doubt me? It's not just Howard Stern.
No, that's not the case. If you dare ask a question, no, lots of people have questions. They get their question answered and they either get vaccinated or they get tested every week. It's not about asking a question. It's about clogging up the fucking hospital when you've been selling bullshit. When you're one of these right-wing radio hosts that's not getting vaccinated, and then you end up eating up a ventilator that could have been left for somebody who's immunocompromised and can't get the vaccine or hasn't been cleared to get the vaccine and catches it because of some asshole who listens to that right-wing talk show host's show in their town and brings it to their place of business because they have under 100 employees and there's no mandate.
Who's a POS? Here's I found this on Twitter. Here's a Belinda Priest on Twitter. She takes there's a picture of a woman, Veronica Wolski. I'd never heard of her, but apparently it questioned masks and other things, which she should. So Belinda's glad, that's her quote, glad to see Veronica Wolski finally learn the proper way to wear a mask. Wouldn't wearing a face diaper have been so much more comfortable?
The woman who it was an anti-vax activist, and she called them face diapers, and she would film videos of herself wearing an eye mask in stores. She's referencing it directly. Nobody said, I hope she gets it, but when she got it, this is some of the responses you saw. By the way, is this the left? Is this a Democratic activist? Is this somebody that works for someone in power's office? Or this just an American citizen, or someone pretending to be an American citizen, even better for Dan Bongino, that has posted something that's their opinion on social media? This is something that Dan found on Twitter.
It's a picture of this woman dying in the hospital with oxygen over her face.
Oxygen over her face. Yeah, he understands pictures the same way his reading comprehension skills were developed. They cut from the same cloth.
People are disgusting.
Asshole, you're the one arguing against people getting the vaccine. People are disgusting. That woman is directly responsible, the woman in the picture he just showed, for other people not believing that the vaccines, not getting the vaccine, and very, very possibly dying. That's not disgusting. What's disgusting is that woman going, wouldn't this have been easier if you wore a face diaper? All you had to do was wear a goddamn mask or get vaccinated, and you wouldn't be in this situation. There's some definite snark in that thing he showed, but it wasn't like, good, bye, dead lady. Right? But, Dan's a delicate fellow.
You, Stern? We're all cowards, too. You're all cowards.
Why are they cowards? They're saying things that upset a roided out asshole who thinks that he could violently threaten people because he doesn't like how their attitude towards his side of the aisle. There's a certain level of bravery. Calling out, I don't know, some asshole who threatens people or muscles up on them if they disagree with them. Right? Especially if they're, I don't know, 67 years old, older than this person, and apparently a wasting bag of bones. Or, just 6 years older than him, and, that live in the gym. I do all right. See, that would require a certain level of bravery. Shit talking someone who's been in media for 4 decades, who you may or may not like, because they expressed their opinion, welcome to America, on your little pissant show with your 95 versions of your logo behind you. Very creative. Very creative.
We share nothing in common with these people. There are no ties that bind. Don't let anybody tell you that. Oh, we share so much more in common than tears us apart. No, we don't. No, we don't.
Well, no, I mean, obviously those people can read and write. That's it. That's his whole thing. By the way, Dan would like you to believe that conservatives and the right believe in Judeo-Christian values. Just for the record, just to put a button on that whole violent escapade, this little fart air fantasy of violence that Dan Bongino likes to sell along with his macho bullshit image. That's what I said. Yes. Dan Bongino has a macho bullshit image. He floats entirely on it. It's nonsense. He's an asshole. And he's vaccinated. What do you want? What do you think the odds are? He's vaccinated. Because he's got to be on Fox News every so often. He sure as shit got it. Family getting it? I think he's got young kids. You think they're going to get it? Yep. Interview him. About what? Honest to God, what is the value of a conversation with Dan Bongino other than flexing on being able to outthink him, which is that's not heavy lifting. He already told everyone he's vaccinated? Yeah. There you go. Fucking almost 70%, 75% of Americans are vaccinated. The holdouts are the ones clogging up the hospitals. A lot of people are reacting negatively to people being in the hospital and taking up hospital beds and hearing these stories about folks that don't have COVID or got vaccinated and were in a car accident or had a heart attack or a stroke, and then they have the kidney failure or something and can't get a hospital bed because some fucko who's like, freedom, is taking up their bed now. They didn't want the vaccine. They don't trust science. But the minute they get sick, they race in and take up a hospital bed. And this asshole's dropping that 50% of the people in the hospital for COVID are asymptomatic. It's moronic. Where did that stat come from? Does anybody know? Because he doesn't have the nuts to put it in his video. Is it in the, let's see. Could it be in the, nope. I was like, it may be in the, links in the description. That happens, right? People post videos, they're like, oh, a link to what we're talking about in the description. Nope. Just pulling that out of his ass. Just...